TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Memories of some of the other preliminary talents from the 80s era. And do you think that any of these guys should have been given a stronger push, like Paul Roma?
Paul Roma got a little bit of a push with Hercules.
Yeah.
And,
Power and Glory.
Yeah. Barry Horowitz, they gave him a little push with, what's the name? Candido.
Yep.
And
what about like guys like S.D. Jones, Terry Gibbs?
Well, Terry Gibbs didn't last very long. He wound up quitting to go to US Air in Pittsburgh. S.D. Jones, believe it or not, when I was young in the business, I looked at S.D. Jones the same way I looked at Pedro Morales, like he was one of the guys.
Yeah. And you always thought, if you watch him on TV, you always thought he had a chance too.
Yeah.
George Wells.
Oh my God, George Wells. Is he still alive?
No, I don't think so. I think he passed away, yeah.
Yeah, George Wells was a good athlete.
Steve Ioffe.
Steve Ioffe, oh my God. Steve Ioffe, I always say, he's the only Samoan that can't work. I always say that to all the Samoans.
Jimmy Powers?
Jim Powers, I used to wrestle him a lot. I used to like working with Paul better than Powers. See, I don't want to, not to get all here this shit, you know what I mean? Right. I don't want to.
I hear you. Lanny Poffo.
A good guy, I still see him. I just seen him about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Now, a lot of people talk about you being used as a measuring stick. You know, Vince would put guys in the ring with you to see if they could go. When a guy would come into the territory for the first time, they would say, put him with Steve Lombardi. What are your memories of working with Ultimate Warrior in his WWF debut?
Ultimate Warrior, I love Jim. Ultimate Warrior was green as grass. I mean, he would run to the ring full speed. He'd be blown up when he got in the ring.
Right.
But he had muscles coming out of his muscles. He would shake the ropes. If you knew how to do it, and I figured out how to do it, you could get the guy over. He comes in the ring, let him get his breath, stay away from him. So as soon as he gets his wind, you know, do a push off with him, start pounding him on the back, let him do his shake of the rope thing, you know what I mean? And then he used to pick me up, and then he used to drop me and then do a splash on my back. And I wrestled him like 47 times in a row. And when he came to the Hall of Fame, he started crying when he seen me. I walked into his dressing room. I said, Jim, he goes, I was just thinking about you. He goes, oh my God, you're the only one who didn't knock me in a DVD. He goes, and all the abuse I gave you, he goes, you never said nothing. He says, you took every bit of it. He goes, you were great. And he goes, and I'm going to tell that one thing that you did. One thing that you did, I'm going to bring it up. So you better be prepared to stand up at the Hall of Fame. And the thing was, they told me they're going to tell Jim to do a job for me to test his attitude. And I told Jim, shut your mouth. Just do it, because you're testing your attitude.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he did it. And I brought that up with his wife, and I talked to his wife about it. And I told her that would be our secret forever. But then I put it out on the podcast, and I put it out on this now. But I don't care. Because like I said to Jericho, did I do the right thing or did I do the wrong thing? And Jericho says, you obviously did the right thing. He became a big star.
Yeah.
He goes, if he didn't want to do it for you, then maybe they wouldn't have pushed him. And yeah, I don't know if I helped him or hurt him. But he would have got there anyway. I don't know. Nobody knows. Yeah. Nobody knows. But I told him, you can't say this on the stage at the Hall of Fame because I'm presently working for the company, and the company's going to say, oh, we can't let Lombardi do anything because he's going to tell the person, you know.
Right.
That's the way I was looking at it.
What do you think about his untimely passing, like a couple days later?
Oh my God! I got a picture of me and him the day before he died.
It's horrible.
It was horrible.
Do you think it was the excitement and all the stress from that weekend that led to that?
Possibly. I mean, he was holding all this in, bottled in for years and years and years, and he finally comes, and I don't know if he truly forgave everyone. You know what I mean? Even though I don't know if there was any merit to his forgiveness. I don't think they did anything to him.
Right.
I don't know all the what actually happened between him and Vince and all that stuff, but I know he made a lot of money, and it was freaky because the Raw before he died, it was after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Did you hear that speech?
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
When my heart stops beating, my legacy will live on forever.
It was like he knew. Yeah,
it's almost like 2 days he predicted his death.
I wonder if he knew that he was sick and just didn't tell his family.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I tell you one thing, when he hugged me, he was all skin and bones.
You actually got to work a little bit of a series with Paul Roma. Were you surprised that I guess he cracked the top tire?
Paul Roma?
Yeah.
Paul Roma was always a great wrestler. I mean, he was a great mechanic. He could do things other people couldn't do, but he always had this. I don't know. He was just more like Jim Powers was more humble than Roma. Roma was more like, I'm it.
Talk about going to Australia for the very first time.
Oh, that was cool. I did Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, and Sydney in 4 days. And the funny part about that is, like 26 years later, Hugh Jackman comes to the show.
I was going to ask you about that. Yep.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman comes up to the show and he's going to guest host for that movie with the robots. I forget what it was. Robot. Remember that one?
Yes.
So he comes up to me. He goes, "You're the only guy that I recognize in this building. I don't even know who Senna is." He said he called Cena Senna. He goes, "Do you mind if I take a picture with you and tweet it out?"
Wow.
I says, "Man, I'm supposed to be asking you this."
Right.
So he takes a picture of me and he tweets it out. And then he does an interview with the company. And he goes, "In 1984, he goes, in Sydney, Australia," and he named the name of the building. He goes, I went to the wrestling matches with my dad. I wasn't even an actor. And I watched the Brooklyn Brawler wrestle. And I remember him from then. And I remember him today now. The only difference is that he had a beard then. He don't have a beard now. And ever since, then he came back again. Then he took a picture with me again. And for some reason, he just respected that.
Who came up with the idea of you working with Kimchi?
The office just called.
They just need somebody to put
yeah,
on the
they
road.
just needed a body and a driver.
What was Kamala like outside the ring?
Complain, always, I don't know. I usually say, "James, your sugar, keep an eye on your sugar." And he used to go, it don't went away. It just went away. My diabetes just went away. I was always on him for that. And then he got real bitter later on. And then his author just called me up. What the hell is his name? The one who wrote his book, Casanova or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Whatever it is. He calls me up and goes, "James just wants you to know that everything he ever said about you was all a rib. It was all a joke. And he did it all in good faith." And he says, "You mind if I write your book?" I said, "No, you can't write my book. I'm not going to have you write my book."
Right.
I said, "If anything, I don't want you on a show with me." And he goes, "No, I'm telling you, don't hold it against me." I said, "Kamala said in his book that I took care of all his money. I made more money than him, and I paid him." I mean, that's a
right. That makes no sense.
No.
I was actually going to ask you about Payoffs because I did an interview with Kamala, and he was talking about he found out somehow he went into the office and got to see receipts of the Payoffs when he was working with Hogan, and how he was really upset with Hogan making more money than him.
Oh, please. All I remember was him showing me every single check he got. "Kimchi, my check's a little down, $22,000 this week." And he used to call me up. He used to go, "I'm lighting a cigar with a $100 bill now." I said, "James, I only made $2,200 this week." He goes, "Oh, come on now, Kimchi." I said, "I worked twice."
Right.
He goes, You can't expect it." No, he made a fortune.
Did you get bigger payoffs when you were working on top with Hawk, or was your pay pretty much based the same?
When I was working, I wasn't working. Oh, you mean when Kamala was working with Hogan? Whenever when you were on a Hulk Town, you would get more money.
Remember he was working with King Curtis, who was managing as the Wizard.
Oh my God, he was a character. Yeah, I went to Hawaii and I ruined my whole vacation trying to hook up with him. You know what I mean? Oh man, he wore the same, like, I don't know what you call it, like a dress.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. He goes to Hogan one day. He goes, "Big man, I want to take the big clothesline tonight. I want to take the big clothesline." He goes, "No, Curtis, I don't want to hurt you, man. I don't want to do this." He goes, "You throw me in, I'm going to take the big clothesline." Hogan throws him in, and right before Hogan does it, he throws himself on the ground. I mean, he just like chickens out in the middle of the move.
Right.
He was a character.